So imagine that today is the first day ever that the thought has crossed your mind that you want to become a great metal guitarist. And it's such a powerful thought that there's no debate about it. Like once you thought about it, that was it. Like you decided that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to do whatever it takes to become a metal guitarist. But you don't know where to start. You don't know what to buy. You don't know what to practice. You don't know what to do. You basically need a framework to go from nothing to becoming a guitarist that can play a friggin' amazing riff like this. So that's exactly what I'm going to cover in this video, starting with what equipment you actually need to buy to be able to get going. However, if you have been playing for a while, you already have gear. You kind of have an idea of guitar, you played a little bit, but you just don't know what to practice or what it is that you need to do in order to continue to see progression and see results, then this video is also going to help you out. The most common reason that people give up playing guitar within the first year, other than the fact that it is hard work and nobody is instantly good at guitar, is the fact that they don't know what to practice. And generally people will go and pay for a one-on-one instructor and they'll teach them a bunch of stuff that is like just not interesting for somebody that wants to play this style of guitar. Or they go online or they talk to a bunch of people and get so many different ideas of what they need to do and what they need to implement and what they need to practice that they just get overwhelmed and frustrated and irritated that they give up. And the reason that I know this is true is because I've made both of these mistakes throughout the 20 plus years that I've been playing guitar. So my goal here is to provide you with the information so that you guys don't get frustrated and give up, and you actually know what you need to do, what you need to buy, like how to get good tone, and what you actually need to do to implement in order to get good within the first year or so of playing guitar to where you actually feel like you're seeing progression. So first, let's talk about gear. Let's talk about tone. So as far as guitar goes, I mean, any solid body guitar is probably going to work for you. I would suggest that you guys don't go with a guitar that has single coil pickups on it. I would go with one that has either passive like humbuckers or active pickups like EMGs. And the reason is because it's just not going to be as easy to get a good heavy metal tone with the single coil pickups. Not saying that you can't play metal with single coils. It's definitely possible and people do it all the time. It's just not the best option, especially in the beginning. So if I had to suggest like a brand of guitar that you should buy first, I would say either go with an Ibanez or go with a Jackson. They're both quality guitars. They make quality guitars at a low cost and they are fairly easy to play. So that's something that you definitely want in the beginning. And then I always suggest that people take it down to like their local shop and get the action adjusted and the intonation fixed up and just get it all set up to where it's going to be a little bit easier to play for you. But that's not a deal breaker. Like if you don't feel like doing that or you don't have the funds to pay $100 for somebody to fix it up, you could still get going without doing that. So now let's talk about the amp. Let's talk about amp and tone. So before you decide on what amp you want to get, you need to understand that you're going to need some form of distortion, whether that comes with the amp or that comes separate from the amp. Both of those options are just fine, and you're going to be able to find fairly inexpensive options for maybe $200 to $300 with either route that you go. So my first suggestion is always just go with something like the PV Viper that has like effects and everything built in. You could literally just buy your cord, plug your guitar in, and find a decent tone just with that PV Viper. 14 years ago, I bought myself an older style PV Viper from the pawn shop, and I played it for like 7 years without even changing the tubes, and it worked fine. I wouldn't suggest that, but it worked fine. I could plug it in right now, and if that was the only amp that I had, I would be fine with the tone. I wouldn't be disappointed. I would still enjoy playing, so that's a great option, especially in the beginning on a budget. Or you could go with any amp that you have or any amp that you buy, and then just buy yourself like a separate distortion pedal or an overdrive pedal. If you went that route, I would always suggest going with a fairly more expensive pedal, somewhere between like $150 and $200. However, you could still find something for maybe $30 to $50 that's going to get you a tone that's going to be good enough in the beginning. And then something you might also want to consider getting is what is called a noise gate. And the noise gate is going to minimize the feedback in between playing. So if you buy all your gear and your equipment, your amp and everything, you plug in, you start playing, you notice that there's a lot of feedback in between the spots where you're playing and then stopping. You hear a lot of feedback there. Then a noise gate is maybe something that you want to invest in. They're not that expensive. The EVH pedal that I showed you guys on the screen, it actually has a noise gate added in. So a lot of amps and pedals will have noise gates already added onto them. So you might already have one. So if you really wanted to, you could probably get all this gear for under $500. Maybe a $200 guitar, $200 amp, and a $30 cord, and you're pretty much good to go. Buy a couple picks for $1. Also, I'll throw a few links for some of these options below in the bio if you guys want to check them out. So now that you guys have your gear, you're all set up, you have everything that you need, it's time to discuss what is it that you're going to play the first day, the first week, first time you pick up your guitar. A lot of people suggest learning songs, learning scales. That's not what you're going to do at all. All you're going to do is experiment. Just grab a pick, grab your guitar, figure out what position works good for you. How does it feel comfortable holding it? Do you like holding it like this? Do you like standing? Do you like holding it on the right leg? Like, where is your arm comfortable? Is it comfortable like down here? Is it comfortable up here? How does your hand feel? Like, what angle? Do you like your hand kind of up more? Do you like your hand kind of resting on the bridge like I do? You're just going to experiment and then just start kind of picking some notes. You could even fret a few notes if you want, but it's more about getting this right hand kind of figured out and comfortable. So just pick some notes. Just mess around. Play some stuff. I wouldn't even try to up pick anything. I wouldn't alternate pick or up pick. I would just down pick. Just start messing around and just figuring it out. So after that first week, you kind of got it figured out. You're comfortable playing. You know how you like to hold the guitar. You kind of got your hand position figured out. Now, the next like 2 to 8 weeks roughly, and these are just kind of rough estimations. Everybody's going to be a little bit different depending on how much time you have, what experience you have, how quickly you learn. But roughly 2 to 8 weeks, you're going to just work on downpicking. And you want to learn how to downpick properly. There's a way to downpick, and I guarantee you your first instinct on downpicking is not the correct way to do it. So you got to figure out how to downpick properly, which there's going to be a down angle involved, and then also you're going to want to have a relaxed wrist to where you're picking from your wrist. And you want to also learn palm muting, which palm muting is where you mute whatever strings that you're playing with this fatty part of your palm here, just right next to the bridge. So basically I just rest your hand there. You don't even have to push down at all. You just basically set your hand right there. So if you're the type of person that likes to rest your hand on the bridge like I do, just scoot it over onto the string, and there you go, your palm muting. So figure out palm muting. Downpicking and palm muting are literally the two most essential techniques that you're ever going to learn for metal guitar. So get those figured out. Just spend several weeks getting them until you're comfortable with them. So weeks roughly 8 to 12. What you're going to do is you're going to learn how to read tabs. So tab is essential when it comes to this style of guitar. Most guitarists read tabs. There's not a lot of genres of guitar that read music and learn from music, mainly because it's just not as efficient. There's a lot of different places on the guitar that you can play the same thing, so reading music is not as effective as reading tabs. So as far as what tabs you're going to learn how to read, we'll talk about that here in just a minute. I'll kind of give you guys ideas of what you should be practicing in the beginning. But then you're also going to want to learn timing. You want to understand timing. You want to learn how to play to a metronome, which a metronome is just basically 4 beats that, or whatever time signature in. You guys want to figure out time signatures and understand time signatures and timing. And most of the time, especially in the beginning, it's just going to be 4 beats in the metronome, and then you just want to basically make sure that you're playing on time. So whatever note you start with, just make sure that when that metronome comes back around, you're starting back on that same note and the notes are lining up with the beats on the metronome as they should. So that is very important. You guys want to understand timing, you want to learn timing in the very beginning and continue to practice and play to either a metronome or like a drum machine or something consistently throughout your practicing. Not every single second that you're practicing, but incorporate that in to your practice routine on a regular basis. So weeks roughly 12 to 16, you're going to learn 2 more techniques. You're going to learn aggressive alternate picking. And let me give you a tip for aggressive alternate picking. Down picking comes natural to almost all of us. Probably the first time that you pick up that guitar, your instinct is going to be just to down pick some notes. It was for me. I think it is for most. So the fact that it comes so naturally, and you're going to down pick a lot more in music than up pick, it's essential to spend a little bit of time just focusing on that up pick. So just spend maybe like 5 minutes every day for a couple weeks, or maybe just a week or so, just up picking stuff. So you can get your up pick a little bit closer to consistent with your down pick. It's never going to be 100% the same because the fact that gravity is on your side when you're down picking. But if you spend a little bit of time focusing on just that up pick before you start to do the down up alternate pick, that's going to help with that aggressive alternate picking style so much. And then another essential technique that you want to get in the very beginning is string skipping. And you can down pick when you string skip, or you can alternate pick. I suggest that you practice both. Maybe start with what's most comfortable for you and then learn that, and then learn the other way. For me, it was always alternate picking, but that was after I'd learned alternate picking. So maybe if you're not as comfortable alternate picking as down picking, start string skipping with just down picking and then learn it alternate picking as well. So this is literally all you need to do for like the first 4 to 8 months that you pick up the guitar. And if you do this exactly how I said for you to do it, spend like 20 or 30 minutes every night focusing on these ideas for roughly the amounts of time that I gave you here, you're going to be better than probably 90% of metal guitarists within their first year. And most of them actually give up anyway, so you're going to be better than them as well. So I recommend that you practice these techniques and these ideas either with some of the easier Metallica songs. That's how I did it. That's how a lot of metal guitarists start, because Metallica has a lot of just down picking and palm muting style riffs. Some of them are a bit fast, so you might have to slow them down to be able to play them, but there's definitely a lot out there that you could get figured out. You're not going to be able to play them perfectly, but you'll be able to play them. That's a good option. Or like metal style exercises like the ones that I write and I give away for free. You guys can access those in my bio. I'll have a link to them and you guys can just take them. You can have them for free. And those are awesome because they're very basic, very straightforward, but they're like a metal style exercise, so it's not real repetitive and kind of boring like if you were just playing like scales. So those are pretty much what I suggest that people start with.